We know that social media presents an amazing content opportunity and an amazing marketing opportunity for us. But just because we know it doesn't mean we actually know how to take advantage of it. And that's what we're going to get into today. The Everyday VOpreneur Summer Series gives voice actors a chance to come on the show, ask me one of their most pressing questions. Chances are, if they are thinking about it, somebody else is thinking about it too. So, Megan Bunting, tell me about the question that is on your mind today.
Thanks, Mark. It's so great to be here, and thank you for having me on. And my question is regarding content creation, and I know you touch on this in regularly, and you've probably touched on this as well in the summer series, but particularly about promoting our own work and creating content that showcases our own work. So I don't know if you're exploring a new genre and, is it a good idea to create your own video if you're exploring corporate narration and then do your own VO and promote that online? What are your thoughts about that? Should we be creating our own work? Should we be doing a deep dive into our own content creation? And if so, what should we avoid if we're doing it?
Megan, what a time to be alive.
It is.
What a time to be alive with the tools and the technology that exists and is available to us today. Because honestly, not that long ago, there wasn't a lot of different ways that we could do this. Like, I'm old enough to remember, and there are a few other voice actors probably who remember, like, putting your demo on a CD and having to do analog stuff to promote your voiceover business. And so to have the tools and the technology of social media it's an incredible way to get free access to very large audiences, but it can also be a little bit stressful trying to figure out how to take advantage of all of that. And what does that actually look like? It's really easy to take your demo and, promote your demo and think, okay, there we go. I showcased my voiceover work. But I think there are things that we can do that go far beyond that too. We'll start with the demo though. I think one of the areas where we're missing an opportunity for showcasing our voiceover work with our demos is in how we are showcasing our demos, which is very often what we will do is we will put a post on LinkedIn or Instagram or wherever, and we'll say, hey, here's my voiceover demo. And we share a link to the voiceover demo. And that's all that we really do. And that's entry level, but we want to go 2 or 3 levels up, right? That's the 101 class. We want to go to the 301 or the 401 class. We want to really take advantage of it. And one of the easiest things that I think that we can do with our demos is break them down into individual clips, which often we get our demos in individual clips now anyway. And then figure out, how can I tell a story around each one of these clips? So let's say that you have a spot on your commercial demo that is your warm, caring mom read, for example, right? Do you have that?
I have that. Yeah.
You have that spot. Of course you have that spot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you've got your warm, caring mom read spot. So you could put a post on LinkedIn that says, if you're ever looking for the warm, caring mom read, I'm able to deliver that. Here's my warm, caring mom read. And you could share that. Or you could tell a story about being a warm, caring mom, about a time when you had an opportunity to be a warm, caring mom, and share the clip, which ties it all together, but it wraps it up in a story. And we respond to story. So that's the 401, right? The 101, share the demo. The 201, share the clip. The 301 is to share the clip and explain what the clip is. The 401 is to tell a story that makes that clip relatable. So that when the person on the other side is listening to it, not only are they hearing you as a warm, caring mom, but they've got this story that they can relate to of themselves in that role as a warm, caring mom, or a way that makes it more authentic that you are the warm, caring mom. And so if you have a commercial demo, let's say the average commercial demo has 5 or 6 spots on it.
Yep.
That's 5 or 6 posts right there. But now do that for each one of your demos in each different type of read that you showcase on each different one of your demos. And depending on how many demos you have, now you've got 20, 25, 30 different clips that you could spread out once a week and get you through half a year's worth of content. So that's one thing that I think. The other thing that I think you could do is, and I think some really great examples of this are Tawny Plattis. So take a look at what she's doing on
Yep.
social media. Chris Tester, take a look at what he's doing on social media. So Tawny Plattis, one of the things that first drew me to her content was this, we'll call it mock corporate video stuff that she
Yes.
was doing, which was freaking hilarious because
She's
it was
so
so
funny. Yes.
obnoxious, but it was so true,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It makes you want to keep watching.
For sure. Agreed.
And so she was showcasing her voiceover, but she was showcasing it in a fun and entertaining way. If you post corporate video voiceover stuff, we're bottom of the funnel, right? If the funnel
Yeah.
comes down, we're bottom of the funnel this big. But if you make it really funny and relatable to every poor sucker who's ever had to sit through bad e-learning, all of the sudden you've got this massive audience that is open, and now your content is going to reach so much more broad. And
Right.
I think Tawny does a lot of different things, but that particular aspect of her content, it just made it so relatable and it made it have such large reach. And if you can reach enough people on social media, inevitably, you're going to find people who are interested in what you have to offer. I think Chris Tester does a really great job of that in a slightly different way with some of the monologues that he reads. And so he leans into his, he's a theatrically, classically trained British RP actor. And he leans into that sometimes more seriously and sometimes more mocking and fun and having humor with it, depending on the type of content that he's reading. But it's very entertaining. And it showcases his voiceover. And so I think if you are the type of person who can pull something like that off, and rule number one of humor is don't try to be funny if you're not funny. So we've all got to ask ourselves that question, because if you're although on the internet now, I guess if you're not funny trying to be funny, there's probably something funny about that, and it might actually work, but it might it might backfire.
Yeah.
It might backfire really, really poorly on you. But that's another area that you can lean into. And then I think another area is what I've been playing around with lately. And I don't know if you've seen the docushort stuff that I've been posting.
Yes, I have.
So I really want to do documentary narration.
Yes.
And I just kept thinking, I need to be able to showcase this outside of the demo, because you can
Yes.
only listen to the 6 clips on my demo so many times before you get sick of hearing the 6 clips on my demo. And so I started doing some of these things last year, and I was doing completely faceless. So I was just doing the narration, and then the video was just, stock video and stuff like that. And it was a faceless thing. And I was doing it to showcase the type of narration that I wanted to do, and hopefully catch somebody's attention. And I did actually have somebody reach out and offer me an opportunity. Unfortunately, it was with an organization that I wasn't interested in being aligned with, so I had to respectfully decline. But then I had a baby, and then I stopped doing it.
Right.
Those darn kids. But she's
so
cute. She's so cute. So
I know.
We'll probably
we'll keep her.
Yeah, we'll keep her. So this year I wanted to get back into doing it again. I knew it was time to start doing it again. But in this age of AI, where everything on the internet now sounds like it's AI, or everybody questions whether or not everything is AI, I decided to take a slightly different approach. And so I'm actually recording myself in the booth and putting that at the top of the frame so that you can see this is a human narrator. And I'm hoping that that makes a difference. And so I've posted a bunch of these now. And I have already had one documentary filmmaker reach out to me on LinkedIn and request my demos. So I feel good about that. And I've had some comments dropped on some of these videos on YouTube where people actually are acknowledging, it's really nice to know that there's a human voice behind these, which is like, yes, thank you. That's part of the point that I'm trying to prove here. That's why I put myself on screen in the booth actually narrating it, so that it shows this is a guy doing voiceover. This is a guy doing narration. I'm not just telling a story. I want to showcase that this is me doing my narration as well. And so I think that's another way that you could approach it. If there was a particular genre that you were interested in pursuing, how can you create some video content? And nowadays it's so easy. There's so many tools available to us to create video content, relatively low cost or even no cost. There's so many websites. Canva has stock video. Pixabay has stock video that you can use for free. I recently subscribed to the Envato marketplace so I'm paying a premium now, but I get even more access to even more video content, which makes it a lot easier. Storyblocks is another website that you can pay for a subscription. Like, there's so many ways that you can get access to all of the video and whatnot now. So how can you take a genre that you are interested in, come up with some subject matter around that genre, and maybe showcase yourself in an interesting or entertaining way, whatever. I'm not going to be able to pull off the comedy thing like Tawny does.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to lean into what are things that people would find interesting.
Right.
And simultaneously, what are some of the things that I would really like to narrate? Right. So I'm keeping that in mind too. I don't want to just narrate these short stories on the internet just for the sake of narrating them. Like, I lean into extreme weather and, different science things, and because that's the kind of content that I'm interested in, and I would ultimately like to, be able to do. So it's coupling those things together, right? How do I couple the genre that I want to pursue with subject matter that I'm interested in, and turn it into video content, and then take advantage of these platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. Interestingly enough, I'm sharing my videos on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and I am getting far more reach and far more views on LinkedIn than I'm getting on YouTube and Instagram, which I think is actually a good thing for me, because the people that I want to hire me are probably hanging out on LinkedIn anyway, right? That's who I'm building my network for. So I put one right now, I'm putting out one a week.
Okay.
But then I'm staggering it. So I post it on YouTube this week, and then maybe next week I'll post it on Instagram, and maybe the week after I'll post it on LinkedIn. So it's not like I'm just taking one video, blitzing it to all three platforms at the exact same time. I'm staggering it so I can get a little bit more life out of each video. I'm dropping it on platforms staggered like that, because I will never assume, and you should never assume, that just because you put it on YouTube, everybody's seen it. No, like, a tiny fraction of your audience on YouTube will actually see it. A tiny fraction of your audience on Instagram will see it. A tiny fraction on LinkedIn will see it. And so dropping it across those different platforms at different times just opens up the possibility that even more people who are in your audience will see it. And if somebody sees it more than once on different platforms, like, who cares? That's the point, right? I want people to see it. I want to be in front of them. And if the content's interesting or they enjoy it or whatever, then, it won't bother them anyway. So I'm not really sweating that side. I'm just trying to think about how can I maximize the reach of this.
Yeah. And when you create those pieces, do you batch them? Do you do a bunch at the same time, or do you do them as and when? Like, what's your process for that?
So let me give you a little peek behind the curtain. This is going to be funny for anybody who's listening right now. So we're recording this at 3:00 Eastern time. So at 2:58 Eastern time, I was laying on the couch having a conversation with Kaylee, when it suddenly occurred to me that I had another session at 3:00. So I came running downstairs at 3:00, getting ready for my coaching session, and I jumped onto my coaching platform, and I couldn't find anything for the session. I went to log into Zoom. I couldn't find a Zoom link for the session. I'm like, what in the world? My calendar says I have this session. And so at 3:00, literally at 3:00 Eastern time, I finally figured out I'm supposed to be recording a podcast with Megan, not having a coaching session with Megan. So in answer to your question, do you batch these things? Megan, as you can experience, as you have now personally experienced,
Yes.
sometimes there is a level of disorganization in my life, in my in my universe. If I was smart enough and organized and coordinated enough to batch these things, I probably wouldn't have been, missing our podcast.
I just want to say to everyone that it is a delight to see a human side to Mark
That's
Scott.
right.
Yes. Come on. Let's show that a little more. I love it.
I would actually, I do want to get to a point because
Yeah.
ultimately I want to be able to release 2 a week.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
only way that I'm going to be able to do that is if I actually start to get ahead. And so it is something that
Yeah.
I've actually started thinking about. Right now, I am about a week ahead. So
Well,
but
that's perfect.
that's all I have the time for.
Yeah.
Because one of those videos, they're 40 seconds long, 45 seconds long.
Yeah.
But they probably take me from start to finish. They probably take me between an hour and 2 hours to complete,
Yes.
just because of the time it takes to find the stock video and pick the right clips and all that sort of stuff. Now, you could potentially get that down to a lesser amount of time depending on your subject matter. If you're not like, well, I mean, Tawny talked about how long it takes to record some of her videos, and it's just her on camera, but she does a lot more editing than I do too, because she's much cooler than I am. I just stand there with one straight shot, and maybe that's one of the reasons why she gets millions of views and I get dozens of views. But I think there are ways that you can work around that. And I also think that it's something that you can build up to. Done is better than perfect.
Well, and that's it. So that's one of my hesitations is the time factor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was, curious about your process because whenever I try something like this, it takes me a long time. And I've listened to other people that do it and they do it so fast. And if I'm hearing you right, it's just give it a bash, just go for it, right? And then find your own process. Is that what I'm hearing?
When you recorded your first voiceover audition, what audio software do you use?
I use Adobe Audition now, but not then. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to Adobe Audition. The first time that you used Adobe Audition to edit an audition.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that it probably took you a heck of a lot longer to edit that audition than an audition that you recorded earlier today.
100%. Yes.
Because you got your reps in and you get more familiar and you get more comfortable. You start to learn the software and it gets easier.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing. Yeah. When you edit your first few videos, it's going to take a really long time and it's going to be incredibly frustrating. And you're probably going to want to quit about 18 different times, but you're never going to accomplish whatever the end goal is if that happens. And your 10th video is going to come together so much more easily and quickly than your first video. So you just press on and do the thing, right? Like that's it. It sounds so trite, people probably get sick of hearing me say it, but it's true. That is a skill that you are going to have to develop. Your first audition was probably a disaster. Mine was like the first audition you ever recorded, right? But now you can walk in the booth and you can record an audition and you can knock it out pretty quickly and efficiently and feel pretty confident about it. Like you've learned that skill. Video editing is a skill that you will learn over time.
Yeah.
So I even find now that some of these shorts that I'm doing, I'm learning little tips and tricks, and I've started setting up some templates, and like there's little things, and I'm only 8 or 10 in at this point, but I've already figured out ways to make this week's video edit a lot faster than the original video that I did. And so I think that you don't let that be your excuse, right? That it will get easier. The most important thing is creating the content.
Yeah.
And look, you are not the first voice actor to have this idea, but look at how many voice actors have actually followed through with it.
Yeah.
Most of them don't follow through with it for all these reasons. It's too hard. I don't have time. I don't know how to edit. I don't have software, right? Like I can give you 1,000 reasons why not to do the thing.
Yes.
For me, the one reason is I want to freaking book a documentary and I'm going to record these videos and do everything that I can until I actually do it or die trying. Like that matters to me more at this point. Like I will find a way. I will learn. And so that would be what I would encourage you with. So think about what this looks like for you. Is it doing something crazy like Tawny's doing? Is it doing something like what I'm doing? Is it What is the genre that you want to showcase, or genres that you want to showcase? How do I put a little bit of my personality and my spin and my take? And here's the other thing. You're not married to this,
Yeah.
right? The first batch of videos that I did, I said I was doing faceless, full screen video,
Yeah.
stock video. And then I was like, wait a minute, I want people to actually know that there's a human narrating. So let me put myself on the screen. And so, like, that's the other thing. You can change and adapt and course correct over time as you get better, as you learn more, as you get some feedback, as you want to try different things. Look, I was doing these videos, and some of these weather ones that I was doing, I really enjoyed I'm a weather nerd, right? So I
Yeah.
enjoyed doing these extreme weather videos. And I thought, that's a subject that's really interesting to people, but I wasn't getting a ton of views on them.
Mm.
So I had this idea a few weeks ago. Puppies. Right?
Yes, animals are popular.
Who is going to swipe away from puppies?
Mm-hmm. Not me.
No human being outside of psychotic sociopaths are going to swipe past puppies. So I'm going to make a video about puppies, and it is going to be the most successful video in the history of my YouTube channel. Do you know what happened?
Popular.
No, like 12 people watched the video. It had like an 83% swipe away rate, which is like the worst swipe away rate that I have ever had in the history of videos that I've created. 83% of the people that were fed that video swiped away from that video. I was like, YouTube is filled with sociopaths. I can't, like, what the heck is going on right now? But this is a great example of I was trying something, tried something new to see whether or not that would work. Well, that failed. Okay, let's go back and do a video on how we forecast hurricanes. And that video ended up getting 10 times more views than the puppy video.
Yeah.
But that's part of the fun of all of this, is when it doesn't work, you can quit and say, I failed, or you can say, well, crap, let's try something different.
Yeah.
You're not married to the idea. You don't have to be married to the idea. So you try it for a while, see what happens. If you come up with a new idea, try that for a while and see what happens. But any content that you create has a higher probability of leading to something than any content that just sits in your head and doesn't actually ever become real.
Great advice. So get out of your own way and just give it a go.
I mean, I'm not saying, but I'm kind of saying.
I hear a do the thing sort of underlining that.
There may be a do the thing in there.
Fair enough.
All right, Megan. Well, thank you for coming on the show and for asking your question, and I hope that's helpful. And I look forward to seeing the first video that you create.
Me too. Thank you very much, Mark. It's been a real pleasure.